Alright, now we're going to assemble the warp portal stand, and this is the thing that the warp portal sits in to hold it up. It consists of 6 pieces. You have 3 inner pieces that have no detail on either side. You have 2 outer pieces that have details on one side, and you have a cross member that has details on both sides. And the easiest way to do it is you just take the 3 centers and you glue them to each other. Now you want to make sure that the notch is all lined up, so you can take another piece of MDF that you might have from another kit, or the actual piece that you have here, and just kind of slide it in there so that the notches will line up, and just put it down and just make sure it gets all lined up properly, and just hold it until it sets. Then you do something very similar with the outer pieces. So you take the 3 pieces you've already had glued together, and you glue that piece on the outside like this. You turn it over, and you glue the other outer piece. And again, just make sure the notches all line up, like so. And there you have that. So this is actually going to be the thing that holds the warp portal. The warp portal will sit between these 2 pieces here. And the thing that holds this up is this. So this, you have a notch here. It just slides in. Of course, it's not glued together, so it won't stay on this film, but this just slides in the center. And just, there you have it, like that. So the ramp that goes up to the warp portal are the 7 pieces we have here. And the first step is to assemble the base. So you have these 2 pieces. One is larger than the other, so one will be closer to the warp portal. The smaller will be farther away. And what you do, you have these 2 pieces that have details on one side, so you want to make sure that when you're assembling them, you have detail on the outside. And all you're going to do is take the larger piece, put it in the notch closer to the wider end, like this. Take the other piece. Well, actually, it's easier to take the smaller piece and put it in this notch so that you have something that looks like that. Take this piece, slide it over those other notches, like this. And you want to try to square it up as much as possible. Now, once that's glued, you can take these steps and they just slide in the slots right here, so they just kind of slide in like this. Take the other one, slide it in that notch, and then this just lays over the top like that. So you have something very similar to that, and pretty much this is what it turns out looking like when it's assembled. So the portal itself is comprised of 3 rings. You have the back ring, the front ring, and the inner ring. The first thing you want to do is you figure out which is the back ring, which is this one here. It's got no detail on one side and detail on the other side. It's the more simple of the 2 rings. And what happens is this gets turned over so that obviously it's facing the back, like this. And this is where you're going to glue all the pieces to. We have these pieces, like this, and really they just get glued to the outer edges of these 4 tabs here. So you just glue one like that. You just glue one like this. Now you do want to line them up with the outer edges. There's a little bit of play built into it, but you still want to line them up with the outer edges as close as you can. And you're just going to glue all 4 of them around the edges, like that. The next step is going to be to insert the inner ring that rotates into what we've just glued. Now you want to make sure before you put this ring into this ring with the glued on spacers, that the glue is completely dry, because if you have some glue, some super glue or whatever kind of glue you use in the crevices, and you put this glue, this thing like that, and if it's glued, if there's still glue there, it's going to glue and you won't be able to move it. So just make sure the glue is dry before you go on to the next stage. Anyway, just slide that piece in like that. It does, like I said, there is some tolerance, there is some play, so it just kind of turns around. And then what you do next is you're going to glue this on top of all of this. So basically you're going to glue these edges to these edges here. And it just kind of slides over and goes together like this. Now what you want to be careful of is to use a little bit of glue. You don't want to put a lot of glue around this edge, because if you use too much glue, it's going to overflow and seal that. It won't turn. So just use the smallest amount of super glue, the smallest bead of super glue that you can on the outer edges, and then lay it down and glue it. What I usually do is I use a very small amount on the outer edge here. I'll lay them all down like this, and then I'll grab the inner ring and I'll just turn it around until the super glue sets. That way, if I did happen to get some glue on the inner ring, it won't set and glue into position. And then you can always go around and put a little more glue around the edges here if that's what you want to do. So the final step is to assemble the three pieces. You take the ramp, which I'm going to use the painted version here, and the stand, and you put these two together. There's a notch here, there's a notch here, and they just go together like that, so that's what you end up with. And really, the portal itself just slides anywhere along this line, but it's designed to where it'll fit in the stand along the protruding edges here. So you just take this and you slide it into the stand, and there you have it. Of course, they're not glued together, so